People have been saying, why, you've got to have Dr. Hakeem. Why haven't you had him on, you horrible man?
Why haven't you had me on?
Well, because I've asked several times and you were busy. However, yeah, you've forgotten that. Tell me a bit about your background. What do you do? Who are you?
Okay, so I'm a consultant psychiatrist. I'm quite rare because I'm also a psychotherapist. Mm-hmm. So I do both. And I worked in the NHS for 15 years, now work completely privately. The thing that people know me for is I'm the only consultant psychiatrist in psychotherapy that specialised in treating gender dysphoria with psychotherapy. And I did that. I ran a specialist service in the NHS for 12 years. I don't treat it now because the climate is so difficult.
Oh, wow.
But I treat everything else. But that's what I'm known for. That's what all my research publications have been in.
I see. Okay.
Including this wonderful book.
That's an early plug.
But you haven't read. Yes,
I haven't read.
Getting it is the first step.
I have the book, and I wasn't sure at what point you were coming on, and then didn't get to read it because you have to read all these books. It's mad the number of people you interview, and how can you get through all
the top of the pile?
I'm reading Dawkins's new book.
No, the order's wrong.
Well, I'll tell him that when I have him on. When did you first start thinking, okay, what is going on here? I mean, did things start to suddenly change with regards to referrals and people coming to see you with gender dysphoria?
Well, if I hadn't done medicine, I was going to do fine art. And I couldn't decide. I got into both. And then the day before, I thought, well, I'll do medicine first, much to the relief of my parents. The other version of me would have gone to the Slade, done fine art, and I'd probably be one of those people on embankment selling pictures by the railings. Yeah. And having come from an art background, I thought, this thing about sex changes, I mean, this is amazing. We can actually change people's sex. I mean, how on earth is this possible? So I thought, this is bloody brilliant, this is. And my first job after I qualified was in plastics as a very junior houseman. And I was helping the plastic surgeons do the operations. And I thought, okay, well, this is clever that they're moving bits of the body around a bit like plastic surgeons do. But what's happening in their head? How are you changing their head? And I went into medicine to do psychiatry because I was always more interested in the mind than the body. And then when I went to psychiatry, nobody seemed to be thinking about it. And people were either not thinking about it or a small group of people in gender clinics were also not thinking about it. And I thought, this is a bit strange. And then I went to the Portman Clinic, which is part of the Tavistock and Portman. And I was there for 12 years, training and working in forensic psychotherapy. And we all had a different niche. Someone had specialized in pedophiles, someone specialized in shit fetishists, and incest. And my specialty was gender dysphoria. So I set up a service, which I ran for 12 years until I left. And it was a psychotherapy only service. So there was it was not attached to any gender clinic. So what I wasn't was a gatekeeper. I wasn't someone to say, oh yes, you can go and have this, you can't have that. So people could be completely honest, and it was basically a neutral exploratory space for adults who came saying that there was something wrong with their sex or gender. And that 12 years really informed my understanding of what it was.
Okay. And I suppose the next question then is, what is it?
Well, and if you think about the term trans, it's a really unhelpful term. It's an umbrella term. So you've got people that used to be called transsexuals who believe that they should be the opposite sex. There was a small amount of them. Then a huge amount of what we used to call transvestites. Nobody talks about transvestites anymore. So the majority of people who we refer to as trans are transvestites. And they were either people who were fetishistic, so they cross-dressed and got sexually excited and would masturbate, or people who weren't overly sexually excited but were afforded some sort of advantage, like they felt more confident, or those are the transvestites. And then a very small proportion were what we call autogynephiles or AGPs, which a lot of people in the gender critical group confuse with fetishist transvestites. They think that every man who's obviously a fetishist transvestite is an AGP, but they're not. Autogynephilia is men who have the sexual fantasy of having female bodily parts.
Okay, as opposed to fetish transvestites who have get arousal from the wearing the clothes.
So the transvestite is you know that you're the sex you are, but you get something out of putting on the external vestiges of the opposite sex. And analytically, there was a paper written years ago where they described the the young boy who has a smothering, overpowering mother from whom he feels claustrophobic from.
Pink Floyd, The Wall. That's what that was about.
Was it?
Yes.
It was a transvestite there, was it?
Well, he was weird, and Roger Waters. It was all about mother. All his songs about his mum, and he has gone a bit weird.
Had long hair.
Yeah.
But so the boy with the smothering, overpowering mother, claustrophobic, then gets power over his mother by putting his mother on and taking his mother off at will. And there's that. So with perversion, with sexual perversions, there's always a root of trauma. And with trauma, you have a number of outcomes. Either nothing, or you get a bit upset and get over it, or you get something along the PTSD spectrum with nightmares and flashbacks, or very rarely you sexualize it. And by sexualizing it, you get dominance and power over what would otherwise traumatize you. There's no choice. You don't say, well, what am I going to do? It just happens. So everyone we saw, because the Portland clinic was basically a sexual perversion clinic. It still is. For every perversion, we saw a trauma at the root of it. So the putting your mother on and off again is why a lot of transvestites look like Hyacinth Bouquet, because that's what their mothers look like.